Okay, so the stream is starting. Let's see here. I actually have music to play over the first bit as I intro here. I hope it's not totally blowing out my voice or anything, but all right, there we go. So, hello, and thanks for watching. I've got this newer music playing that is from a YouTube channel that has copyright-free music that they write for stuff, I guess, like this. Oops. Just gonna play this also. And it's from, yeah, so it's spelled CO.AG music, but I sort of think it's called CO.AG music or something. So I have that link in the description of the stream. And hello. Oh, Sky's here. I'm surprised. Awesome. Hello, Sky. Hey, Vic. M. Vale. 2 plus 4 times 5. Greg. This sounds like someone's a law-abiter. Yeah, I just don't wanna have any of these streams taken down because we couldn't really replace them with the same audience participation, etc. So, yes, but as a reminder for this week's audience participation section at the end, the question was from 2 plus 4 times 5 and was, if you were the Undersiders, how would you rob the bank differently? Yeah, instead of playing copyright-free music, I should just rob a bank. Vic is so right. And then, so we'll talk about that audience participation at the end. Oh, and I wanted to mention, I had thought of a question for the audience participation, but mine's, like, not great. It's just fine. So if you think of a good one, just let me know. Oh, yeah, don't worry about it, Sky, if your Saturdays are usually busy. That's how it goes. I can't catch tons of people's streams because of my weird work hours being late, so. And Sky, like Vic says, we understand that you are very popular, so it's cool that you're here. Let's see here. Sky would rob a bank with Nerf guns painted black. No one would know. But I'm going to pick up with 3.7 here. So the chapter picks up right where the last one left off. We're in the alleyway behind the bank, and the Undersiders are getting out of the vans. Gru walks toward Bug and Tattletale, sending out low levels of his power. There are vents in his helmet that make it so that the darkness doesn't always obscure the face of the helmet, which has the skull. So they can sometimes see a dark skull floating in the effects of his power, like just a spooky, I don't know, spooky face in the void. And then when Gru has his power active, his voice is affected. It makes him sound really hollow and echoey. And as Vic pointed out in our notes here, that's something Taylor steals later, because Taylor's always like stealing stuff that other people do and just recreating it with her powers. She's really good at that. See, there's a lot of chatter. Let's see. 2 plus 4 times 5. My Saturdays are also kind of busy, but that's because of these streams. Ooh. Oh, Vic says the art isn't up, and that is my bad. I thought I had the display window going, but I didn't. So... Hmm. Just a sec. I guess technical difficulties. Ah, yes. That's good. All right, there we go. That should clear that up. And then let's see here. I also wanted to. Okay. Get a couple more things ready and. Okay. Well, with all that out of the way, all that garbo, so this guy says Gru, like from Despicable Me. Love that guy. People are gonna think I've been slacking, which I have been, but still, I still did it. Vale says, for video today, we're gonna be watching a fight between Gru and his arch nemesis from up close. Yes. This guy says, this is the art. Go full screen and look into the blackness. Sigma Jargon says, see, Taylor doesn't care about gonna be right. Or would that be Cape E right? And then, I could draw a Gru fight. Yeah, everybody could. Okay, so more stream garbo going on, and I am just gonna go back on with the document. So when they described his power in text, it's his voice echoed, reverberated, with the hollowness to the sound, like something alien and far away. He was using his power to play with the sound. And some of the audiobooks chapters for Gru, they have like a sound effect that they play over his spoken lines that's really good. I don't remember which reader that is, but I think it's the person who does Arc 3, so let's see here. Gru opens the back of the van that Taylor arrived in, and an entire 350 cubic feet of bugs slop out into the rain, and Gru scrambles to get out of the way. Taylor's amused as Gru is moving out of the way of the swarm, and he jokes, got enough? We get a rare Taylor smile here. I mean, Vic will tell you, Taylor, like, never smiles. Yeah, sloppy bugs, that happened. They kind of, I imagine them dumping out of there. And definitely moist bugs, Vic. That needed to be said. And now you have me saying it. So Greg says Snagger is the Arc 3 audiobook narrator, and yeah, I think that's the one with the echo. Oh, and I gotta switch this over to the higher quality. Oh no. There we go. And so let's see here. Taylor had cruised the city earlier in the day with the van to fill up the entire back of it with bugs, and it wasn't just like any bugs she could find. She had like mostly all good ones, like fast bugs, ones that can fly around carrying other bugs, spiders, stinging, biting, like moths for physical bulk. So it's pretty cool. Oh, Vale just said, I just realized right once read many as worm. Dang. Um, Indeed. And then, yeah, she also brought the Black Widows with her that she'll use later, which we can see in the art, of course. I love all the details here, like the characters having to spend time going around the city picking up bugs, and also the stuff about how you can find bugs even places that people would expect to be too sterile and clean for bugs. In a similar way, I like the little detail about Rachel, or about Bitch powering up her dogs, how it wears her out if she powers them up too quickly. So being able to slowly transform them in the back of the van is like incorporated into their plan. It's just good little details, I think. Name your favorite fast bugs. Sow bugs are pretty fast, but I wouldn't want them in a swarm. I think they would be very useless. Creepy little centipedes. Cockroaches are fast. Dragonflies are fast. There's a lot of fast bugs. Um, let's see here. Wasps are demonic embodiments of hatred. Yeah. Name your favorite fast bugs and fast food. Okay, if I had to combine a fast bug and fast food, it would be dried out crickets that are spiced, and fast food I would add it to um I don't know. I would put them in with McDonald's fries, crispy McDonald's fries with some dried out grasshoppers and crickets. That'd be pretty good. Yeah, cricket McNuggets. I would have that. Yeah, the ground up crickets. That'd be sick. I'm someone who already eats bug based food in real life, so yes. Um, Vale says favorite bug lobster. Add to any fast food. Um, Pick only like sloppy bugs. Um, I think with no wind, bees can go like 30 miles per hour. Jeez, I didn't know that. That's pretty fast. Lobsters are literally water bugs. McDonald's fries are super overrated. 99% of the time they give you undercooked stale fries. I mean, sure, but that last 100% they give you fries that are made of pure crickets, and that's the like zenith moment. So, it's that 1 in 100 roulette that I can't pass up. Um let's see here. Taylor is impressed with the small but significant changes that Lisa makes to differentiate her civilian identity from her tattletale persona. The domino mask that she wears changes the lines of her face and covers the areas of her face with freckles. Despite having the mask covering a relatively small amount of her face, Tattletale always has her hair like down and unbound, but she braids her hair or puts it into a ponytail whenever she's Lisa. Um, Cricket fries, they're yummy. Slogan for when you make and sell your own cricket fries. I'll have to come up with my own slogan. Thank you very much, Sky. I can't just steal some other streamer's cricket fry slogan. They hop right into your mouth. Damn it, now I can't use that one, Greg. I have to make my own. All the good ones are going to get taken before I make any slogans. Um, Vale says, I love today's art so much. The perspective is wonderful. Um, yeah, it is. I really like all the colorful clothing and stuff. I think everybody looks great. You got the man in the pink dress shirt there. You got some mysterious character who has way more detail than the other characters, for some reason. Um, you guys could go into cricket fry competitions. Oh, Megafire 7 is here. Oh man. I have heard many Megafire comments if this is the one who comments on other Parahumans media. This is pretty cool. Um wow. Okay. Uh Let me get back to looking at the document here. So we hear a bit about Regent's costume being deceptive, and his mask has foam, so the impacts of the mask won't be as bad as he wear if he gets hit in the face. And he wears a defensive mesh under his billowy shirt, and he has a hidden taser. So Taylor just thinks about all these aspects being like different hidden things, but Vic points out in our notes here that Vic thinks she's biased. All the costumes have aspects of deceit aside from bitch. Um, and asks if I think that Regent made the defensive choices or was influenced by Tattletale and Gru. I think it's probably influenced by Tattletale and Gru. Um, wow. This is cool. I don't know that Sky necessarily would know who you are, Megafire, but Vic and I and Sigma Jargon there all listen to like We've Got Worm and We've Got Ward. Well, Vic is just starting Ward, but you know. M says Regent, like, why can't I just wear a shirt? Yeah, he probably was like that. Um, Regent just running rampant in a t-shirt until his insane parents took him in. Um, yes, his parents, Lisa and Brian. Um, so Lisa's able to open the fire door with the code, and normally this would set off the alarm, but her power tells her that there's a way to enter the code that only hero capes and SWAT teams know, and that it doesn't set off the alarms on that door. So they're still tense for the alarm when the door is opened, but Tattletale grinned at us. What'd I tell you? Um, Bitch's dogs are described as being about the size of small ponies right now, so they're still able to get in the door. Um, they get a description of the change itself now, and I'm going to read kind of a longer segment because I tried to sum this up and I kept just using the same wording, but like more clunky and less clear. So, from the book. The animals were the size of small ponies, their flesh having swelled and expanded enough that their fur had split at the seams. Muscle and bone showed beneath, and the arrangement of said anatomy wasn't exactly typical. The change was slow enough that you couldn't see it if you were looking for it, but if you looked away and looked back a moment later, you could tell they were bigger. That bone at the shoulder was longer, and the eyes were deeper set, and so on. Spikes, spurs, and exoskeleton of bone growths had appeared to fill or cover gaps and grow in places where the bone was already close to the skin. The tail of the smallest dog, Angelica, I think Rachel called it, was twice as long as normal and prehensile now, and the other two were well on their way. It looked like someone had torn out a pair of human spines, the meat still hanging off of them, and attached them one to the other before tacking them to the end of the dog's hindquarters. So yeah, a rather long reading segment there, but I don't know how else to sum up that like crazy description of the dogs. I think it's pretty good. We get a lot of information on them, which is helpful because we're gonna see them very consistently and like um just throughout the whole next giant chunk of the book. So um let's see here. I think seeing the dogs partway through the transformation also fills in mental gaps a bit as far as understanding what they look like when they're full grown, because you can like understand what she's describing changing like on a slow and longer time scale. And then for Bitch's costume, she's just wearing like a regular amount of costume for her, a jacket with a fur ruff and a plastic dog mask. It's not even the same plastic dog mask because I think this time it's a bulldog and last time it was a Rottweiler. Um, I just find that funny. She just has this super inconsistent costume because it doesn't matter to her. Um, and I think it's a good detail that we learn here in this chapter that if she powers up dogs too quickly, then she exhausts herself, but it doesn't really use up much strength to do slowly like this. Vic says, so many smiles. Em says, that's what I'm saying. Uh, the smiles. Oh no, Vic says sloppy flesh. Um, Unfortunately, neither Brutus nor Judas fit with the Eliza's part of that song. We have two and pennies running around. True. But isn't it Aunt Peggy? Yeah, it's Aunt Peggy. think. um, not not that I know musicals at all. I only really know two or three. Let's see here. They invade the bank with the dogs in front and with Taylor's swarm following their group. Taylor thinks about how the clock started ticking on them when they parked the vans in the alleyway, but at this point the calls are probably already being made to get the heroes on scene. They move through the bank, clearing rooms, checking if there are people by various means. And then when they find someone, first Gru fills the room with darkness, then comes out with the guy who is in there. And they bring him with the group of them. And the next person they find tries to shout for help, but before he does, Regent uses his power to make him cough and sputter instead. Then he keeps using his power to make him fall over a couple times before the guy gives up and joins their group as another hostage. And they actually clear all the rooms up to the front lobby, only finding those two people. And then let's see here. Peggy is an uncommon name, so probably autocorrected. That might be true. It's funny to me that Peggy's such an uncommon name because I grew up with someone around who was named Peggy, so had quite a bit of familiarity with the name. God, I can't believe William is a Hamilton stan. Thanks, Vic. Blah blah blah. Let's talk about Hamilton and Peggy from Hamilton being dead. Let's see here. So, Bitch's dogs run into the lobby. This is where it's a very dramatic scene. I think this would be pretty impressive as a little set piece in a TV serial, some sort of anime, where Bitch's dogs run into the lobby, barking and snarling. And at this point, Bitch gives them like a final power up, and Taylor says they shoot up by like a foot at the shoulder in size. And then they shake off their outer layers of fur and blood and gore that was like sloughing off them. And Taylor sees 2 to 3 dozen people in the seconds before Gru like coats the room in darkness, and everybody's like screaming, and the dogs are going off, and then like it's just goes to silence when the darkness flows into the room. So it's pretty cool. Let's see here. Vic says sloppy dogs. Everything is just gonna permanently be sloppy, isn't it now, Vic? Just because, something slops out of something one time. I didn't realize it was this terrible, destructive word like this. Yeah, Lin-Manuel Miranda cameos as Alexander Hamilton when the Marvel cast time traveled. Sky is right. M says, screaming and barking. Vic says, if I was in pure darkness, I would just think it was me. Oh no, did I close my eyes? Your move, Bug Girl, Tattletale said, reaching forward to put a hand on my shoulder. Taylor still does stuff at this point in the story like close her eyes to focus on her power because she's kind of like not used to using it all the time. She spreads her swarm throughout the lobby and finds all the people there, distributing the bugs on all of them to sense them as they also spread out a few Black Widows to each hostage. Once the bugs are in place, Gru dismisses a bunch of the darkness, leaving a thin layer on the walls and windows and a lot of other surfaces. And then the Undersiders move into the room dramatically. They've got 2 dogs guarding the front door and 1 waiting near the vault so they can start loading these like straps and saddlebags that they've set up to attach to the dogs. They're going to load those with cash and like stolen documents and stuff. The dogs are described as being car-sized now, and this is as big as they'll get. Let's see here. I was so relieved they didn't just name her Bug. Yeah. Imagine being thrown in confinement like on Alcatraz. After a while, you couldn't even tell when your eyes were closed. Or nah. Dang. You'd be full Groot all the time. It'd be like he was constantly blinding you. Taylor gives a little villain monologue here, and she's managing the hostages. Vic says Taylor has no shame. It's true. She says they'll be gone in 15 minutes, and then the hostages will be free to give statements to the authorities and go on with their day. Taylor tells them not to be heroes, etc., and then gets super dramatic and shows off the Black Widow's spiders. She does well here, I think, actually. It's her first villain speech. And I love the part where she's got the spider dangling from the thread on her fingertip, and it's like really evocative to the point where Vic felt like this had to be the moment that was the art. I didn't even think of it because there's so many moments in each of these chapters to do. I didn't think of either of the ones she used, so it's kind of impressive in the chapters in that way. Do you think she practiced this in the mirror a lot? Yes, Vic, I do. M says, I love her villain speech. Sky loves villain monologues. For someone who acts like she has social anxiety, she's a great public speaker, says Vic. Megafire says, Taylor, I'm totally a superhero, Hebert. I was like, oh my god, she's nervous for her speech. Or was she nervous for her speech? Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I think when she puts on her cape persona, she's able to like totally wash her hands of her normal self, and she's able to successfully compartmentalize in a way that she's been trying to up to this point, like where she doesn't just project confidence. I think she actually has that when she's in the costume, being the cape version of herself. Man, still can't say the name. Being Bug. She isn't socially anxious when she's wearing her mask. That's exactly right, Vale. That's exactly right. Well, she imagined everyone in their underwear, so she's like Beyonce and Sasha Fierce. It's it's a little like that, except, well, actually, I don't know. I guess I don't know that much about Beyonce's history, but I never got the impression there was a nervous Beyonce phase. Vic says she was imagining she could kill them all if she made a mistake. Greg says she code switches. Yeah. Taylor stutters, murders everyone. And yeah, Taylor did roll a 20 on Intimidate. Anyway, moving on, not just forever sticking to this, wanted to say that getting to the end of her little monologue here, Taylor rounds it out by threatening the hostages, describing the Black Widow's bite, and then saying that normally Black Widows only bite once, but she'll have them bite several times if she's provoked. Seeing the hostages, Taylor's upset with herself. She's realizing on like a more visceral level the psychological damage she's doing to them. She notices a grown man crying and a bank employee shaking like a leaf. We also get mention of a teenage girl with freckles and curly brown hair glaring at Taylor with raw loathing. I wonder if we know a character with brown curly hair and freckles. Who could it be? Taylor's still able to justify to herself that she's terrorizing people as a way to keep them from getting hurt or killed. And so she kind of like tries to justify it to herself, but even then she thinks that it's getting pretty thin, and then says in her own head, I was going to hell for this. Sky says Beyonce has stage fright and still does. She goes into a different persona, aka Sasha Fierce, when on stage. Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Final chapter thoughts. I think this one's really great. We do get to see Taylor conflicted about stuff. We get to see the kinds of ways she's justifying stuff to herself when it's not as clear of a justification, so that we will be able to build up like mental patterns when actions seem more obvious that she's taking. She'll be able to justify violence to us, and we can either take the hints from the earlier sections like this, where she's doing something that's more clearly bad, or we can ignore it and be in Taylor's point of view, like I like to do, and be like, yeah, get him, Taylor. Get him. Sky says, you rarely see her in interviews because she's hella awkward. M says, Beyonce, just like me, for real, for real. So yeah, 3.7, pretty cool. 3.8, Regent watches out the front door, and Taylor mentions in passing, or in her passing thoughts, that his power has good range. If it wasn't clear before to us, then I wanted to like point out that his power is more or less unblockable. We'll see somebody like is able to stop his power much later under certain circumstances, but it's just like to almost any cape, it's just an unblockable attack, as well as any regular non-powered human. So it's, I don't know, it's pretty hard to deal with, because he can just make you like start falling over and vomit and dropping everything you're carrying. Tattletale goes to the vault and begins her process. For a moment, Taylor gets hopeful that Tattletale won't be able to open the vault, but then she hears something heavy shift inside the door. After they've got the vault open, Tattletale goes for the manager's desk, while the other three actually enter the vault with the dog, which is Angelica at this point. Oh, no, it's Brutus at the start. So Tattletale's watching the surveillance and is able to remotely access the door locks and alarm systems. Let's see. Going back to the chat, we've got M, at first I legit thought you were Beyonce when you first came into Kurdos chat. I don't know. M says, am I stupid, or am I supposed to know who the curly hair freckle girl is? And like Vic says, you're not stupid, but it's someone we've met, but Taylor hasn't. And part of the joke that I was making earlier, too, is that if you were watching closely during the video of the art, you would be able to notice that the amount of detail on her is about as much as, like, all of the other characters combined. And I just thought that was funny when we were watching the replay. But let's see here. So Vic says, I didn't know who it was when I read it either. I must have personal regent that follows me everywhere. Okay, I'll ignore the freckle person for now. Right now, though, I'm confusing you with myself with all the typos you're having. Yeah, I'm not sure. 2 + 4 × 5 says, then you would be regent, Vic. Let's see our boy Brutus. Oh, yeah, okay, so The art. The art. You can see this. So Taylor and Bitch put straps onto Brutus that make the makeshift saddlebags, or the makeshift saddlebags they have will be attached to once they're full. Taylor tries to play it cool in front of Brutus, worrying what will happen if he senses fear or nervousness from her. I think this art is great because it shows off a little moment that only takes a few lines of text and is really evocative. I think the book does this throughout, like things that happen once and are never revisited, and they take, like, I don't know, 50 words or less, but there's something that kind of sticks with you. And they're a moment good enough for a chapter art, but like small enough that you'd never think of this chapter and probably think of this exact moment. Like right off the bat, I guess. Um, and then let's see here. Vic says, "Wow, he's so cute and not at all horrifying." M says, "Victoria, I'm in love with this art. I've never drawn a dog before. No one be harsh. What a cute little pup. Doggo! He's so spooky." Yeah, when we watch these, it really, I really get to see how the process goes in, because like until I saw Vic's specific art that she started sending me the movies of like 3 weeks ago maybe, um I didn't understand how you would get like such good layering so fast, and like seeing her do it, it makes so much more sense. But just the way it turns out, like everything being kind of modeled and shadowed, it's really like pops off the screen. Um, Bell says, "This is amazing. Can you post these in the Discord, please, please, please?" Yeah. I will start a new Discord section, and I'll post all the arts that we have up to now. There was something that I was kind of waiting for to do that, but it's uh unclear when it will happen. So I'll just start this week since it's being requested. Um, yeah, Vic, I think I need to. I think I need the first couple because they were in a different file type that Discord doesn't like. They weren't JPEGs. I'll let you know which ones those are. And yes, indeed, I am talking about the image from 1.6, the Lost Chapter. Vic has a very interesting personal relationship with Armsmaster, with our dear friend Colin. Um, and so it caused a slowdown in the art. Vale says there's a subreddit with a ton of members that love this sort of thing too. If you have any interest in posting there, um, Vic says, "Look, I drew him the other day. I don't need to do it again." Um, well, Vale, I might spread this further. I'm fine with people telling other people about this. I just felt kind of the stream's a little rough. I'm still getting into it. The next like several weeks I have a guest planned though. So I guess now would be a decent time to tell more people about it cuz the upcoming streams should be kind of better. Um so oh, goodbye for a few minutes, Vale. Uh Let's see here. Greg says, "I've been reading a bunch of Worm fanfic recently, and goddamn, the Armsmaster underwear gets mentioned more than you'd expect." Ah, my word. Anyway. Um, Vic says, "Vale thinks they're better than us because they have a wife? Terrible." Um, let's see here. Uh, Megafire says, in response to Greg, saying he's been reading Worm fanfic. Well, there's your first mistake. Anyway, so Moving on for a bit, while Bitch and Taylor are loading in money to the bags, Gru is breaking open fireproof document vaults set into one wall. These vaults have all the important documents kept in the bank. So they're like all sorts of stuff. I think they. Oh, I guess I talk about that in a bit. When they fill a bag, they slide it closer to the dog, and then Gru, despite being so strong, like still has to take a lot of effort and like hefts it up because it's just got so much money in it. And then attaches it to the dog while they start loading the next bag. Taylor's trying to figure out how much they're making, like how much they're getting away with, and loses count almost right away as she realizes she has to double everything she's grabbing because Bitch is working about as fast as she is loading up the bags. And by the time they have a second bag ready to go, Gru attaches a bag filled with like the documents he was stealing as well. Um, they're trying to keep things like left right balanced on the dogs so that they can run and jump around in fights more or less normally. The documents are said to be mixes of like deeds, liens, insurance forms, mortgages, and loan information. Taylor thinks to herself about the reasons that their boss might want these documents and be willing to pay extra for them. She thinks of a few possibilities, but no real clues to go on. I mean, I like where her head's at in this part, but it's like she says, there's nothing that she can really figure out. But someone like Tattletale, um, let's see here at Vic. I'm just a snooty wifist. The yelling was about availability of food. Important information. Deeds, liens, and spleens. Yes, Vic. Um, so Bitch smiles after thinking about how much money they're gonna make, and she has like non-standard social cues, and it creeps Taylor the fuck out. She's like upset, actively seeing just a smile. um, Gru decides they can't put any more onto Brutus, and Bitch makes sure the weight is even-ish, and then they tag Brutus out for Angelica. And Bitch shows affection to the dogs in passing, reminding us that she has like a close bond with them and is affectionate toward them. We're reminded a few times about their crazy tails that are prehensile and that sort of like wag around and can really like smack stuff over if the dog isn't careful. Um, and yeah, more smiles, says M. And Brutus is smiling here too. Um, Taylor always has a background awareness of the hostages because of her bugs, but she tries to distract herself from feeling guilty by starting small talk with Bitch, which is like, wow, what an idea, Taylor. Why did you do this? After Bitch tells Taylor that she didn't name Angelica, Taylor keeps talking, and the way Bitch parses the conversation is pretty far from what Taylor had intended. She thinks that Taylor is accusing her of being the person who abused Angelica and almost starts fighting her, like, right there in the vault. As Bitch is calling Taylor a coward, Gru steps in and makes Bitch switch jobs with him and crack open more vaults. Um, yeah, perfect distraction. The small talk was so funny. Yeah, I agree, Em. I like that moment. It's just like, Taylor, why? And then they get into a rhythm, and they get 4 bags loaded onto Angelica as well. Taylor asks if they should load up Judas or just run for it with 2 dogs worth of money and documents. No use getting greedy. Gru asks how much they have, and Tattletale answers him that they have $41,800 and lets them know that the heroes have arrived. They quickly join Regent at the door, looking out small gaps in the darkness at the windows. There are a lot more heroes than they had expected during the planning phase. Lined up across the street, their opposition is easy to spot with bright, colorful costumes in the gloom of the rain. I can't get over how much I love the art. I'll stop mentioning, but sitting here is so happy because of it. Yeah, no, it's excellent. Like, I think it's just, I've seen tons of versions of the dogs, and I don't feel like I usually see the chords of muscles represented, even though they're talked about all the time. Um, Thank you. I'm glad people are enjoying it. So funny how she intimidates the hostages like a boss, then absolutely fails at the small talk. Oh yeah, because she's kind of back to being herself. When she's dealing with yeah, her social skills are not evenly distributed. Yeah. Um, and Vic says, to be fair, I don't think anyone has ever successfully small talked Rachel. Yeah, it's weird because even when Taylor is in costume, she's not always she's not always in that mode yet where she's like ready for action. She kind of slips back into being a much more standard version of herself sometimes when she like is talking to people or a little scared. Um, it's kind of odd. I'll try and keep track of that. So standing across the street from them, from left to right, waiting for them outside are we've got Gallant, Kidwin, Clockblocker, Aegis, Vista, and Browbeat. Aegis is the team leader in red. He's got redundant biology, the cockroach, the zombie. He's super strong because of his like redundant biology allowing him to like run on adrenaline all the time. He has minor flight ability. He can do things that would like where he'll just punch with his whole arm in a way that would break your hand, your wrist, your elbow, like whatever. And he just goes for it. Hits with everything he's got every time because it doesn't like negatively impact him to a meaningful degree. Um, and so he can just constantly do stuff like that. Really, really hard to deal with because he just can constantly come at you forever. Um, so we've got Vista in green. She's the tween who can bend space. You can't run away very well when you constantly have to double the amount of distance that you're running. And I mean, there's all sorts of stuff that she can do. We'll see in the fight, but yes, very annoying to have her around. Clock blocker with white body armor and a full faceplate helmet. He can stop things in time with a touch. You really don't want him to stop you in time because if you get unlucky and it's like a full 10 minutes, then your team would have to fight for like 10 minutes to keep you from getting arrested. Which in a superpowered fight 10 minutes is a ridiculously long time. Kid wins, sporting red and gold body armor, has his hoverboard, lasers, laser pistols, and visor, all emanating like a ruby glow. Gallant has on his hand-me-down Tinker armor. Probably looks like a Rosenritter from Legend of the Galactic Heroes, and he can fire emotional blasts at people rather than using an axe like a Rosenritter would. Um, and yes, Kid win. Um, and Kid wins. Um, so next we have Browbeat. He was not even expected to be on the team, but he's here. He's got a dark blue diamond print bodysuit. Tattletale lets us know that he's a point blank telekinetic. He can hit or block really, really hard within about an inch or so of his body. He also has personal biokinesis that he can use to bulk up or heal himself. She says that if he just focuses on a part of his body, he can like heal an injury. Um, let's see here. Uh, Tattletale, Gru growled in his echoing, reverberating voice. You know how I say you're a fucking dumbass sometimes? He even said that to her before she mentioned that there was an unknown cape on the roof. You know, which really complicates the situation for them. But the Undersiders fought Browbeat when he was a solo hero. Regent and Bitch were able to defeat him without much trouble because Regent's power pretty much like hard counters his power. Um, like he's an up-close fighter who doesn't have any movement abilities, who needs to be able to run around, and Regent can just like endlessly knock him over. He can't make any progress toward them. Tattletale didn't know that he had joined the Ward's team until just now. She's unsure who's on the roof, but she's pretty sure it's not Shadowstalker. I made an educated guess, Tattletale spoke in a low voice. I was wrong. Sue me. Just a minor hiccup in the plan. Yeah. Gru is pissed at this point. Taylor seems pretty defeated and leans into the window. Let's see here. Oh, yeah. This is where Rachel says, I can take them. Just let me go all out. Gru tells Bitch that they're going to risk, or that they're not going to risk killing or maiming anyone. The plan stands. We have the money. We run for it. Tattletale says that they won't be able to just run because wherever they leave the bank from, the person on the roof will charge them and distract them long enough to get bogged down by the other heroes and possibly caught. Especially with people like Vista in the mix and with like Clockblocker in the mix, where you could get just like one person and that would still be like they couldn't really get that person back. When Gru tries to say that they'll run under the cover of his power, Tattletale says that even if they're fighting blind, it's risky with so many of them. Fuck, Regent groaned. Gru says that they can't wait for the wards to come in after them, but because it'll just increase the chances that the Protectorate's able to get there and join the fight. Bitch says that they have hostages and says, if they come in here, we'll take out one of the hostages. What a charmer. Always a nice one, that Rachel. Taylor thinks that this is all her fault because she talked to Armsmaster and is even worried that he might be the cape on the roof. She thinks that if he's here, it'll give the whole game away to Tattletale. We need to catch them off guard. I didn't realize I was speaking aloud until the words left my mouth. Sure, but how are we going to do that? Gru replied. You guys are masters of the getaway, right? So we change gears. We fight them face to face. So yeah, that's the end of that chapter. It's another pretty good one. I mean, I think that cliffhanger, it's like, I think this is the first time M has mentioned needing to read onward, because it's pretty compelling stuff. Like, there's so many of them that they have to fight. They're like outnumbered. They're stuck in the bank. Like, all sorts of things. It's great. And like the upcoming fight delivers on the promise of this chapter. Like that's one of the things. 2 plus 4 times 5 says, "Yep, that's a good cliffhanger," and by good I mean evil. Yeah. I didn't know what to write under themes. I'm sure there's stuff, but like my brain was just not putting it together. And I said, my only thing I wrote there was, now Taylor a bully. And then I put a little shocked emoji. I was going to fill that in with more like concrete stuff later, but I just didn't. So, feel free to talk about the themes, if you want in the chat. For characters, going through and talking about them a bit. We've got Brian. He's the Undersider who's the most on the same page as Taylor in this moment. He's serious. He wants to this to go well, and he wants it to be over with fast so they can get out of there. He is obviously very angry at Lisa in this moment, but I think that he can live with it because they've actually made off with more money than I think he was expecting already. M says, now Taylor the bully, and then yeah, cowboy hat. I don't know if you know this, M, because Vic might do it to you too, but like the way me and Vic use the cowboy emoji is like I don't even know how to describe it. It's for situations that are fucked. Vale says, it's amazing to me how good the writing is already. Where this is the first thing Wildbow wrote, and he's really only so few chapters in. I agree. Like, the fact that it's like a passive aggressive face, kind of. Yeah, kind of. It's hard to put my finger on all of the meanings of the cowboy because we've used it so much and it's meant so many things. Um, but yeah, like the way that this chapter feels and the way that the next two chapters ramp up the direct action and like the powers like craziness, and then the two chapters after that really ramp up the the moral weirdness and badness, and it's like a social battle almost, even though there are superpowers involved. And then uh and then the denouement on the arc. But yeah, just the writing on this arc 3 as a whole is just incredible, I think, for how quick it is into it. Anyway, back to this stuff here. So, Lisa's having a lot of fun. She likes times like this when she gets to show off and prance around. It's her fave. Um, we get a lot about Rachel, I feel like. Taylor does just not know how to deal with her yet. Every little thing she does sets Rachel off. Even in the face of all the wards, she's still ready to fight like everyone in sight. And she clearly struggles with basic communication, including facial expressions and tone of voice. Um, and I know a lot of people in real life that struggle with like different forms of communication like that, who have just a very hard time understanding what people are trying to convey with their face, that kind of thing. So it's very sad for Rachel. Um, I know that it comes off very like ominous, but it's like her aggression and violence is cyclical with her inability to form bonds with other people. Um, Vale says it's already better than most published / edited writing, and we're barely started. Agreed. Um, Greg says Rachel has small dog brain. A little, yeah. Much like Small Dog, who was freaking out while we listened to the audiobook. I had to run her around the neighborhood. 2 plus 4 times 5 says, at this point in the story, Wildbow is a great writer and he only gets better from here. Vic says, I think that the audience is sort of more understanding of Rachel than Taylor is at the get-go. I agree. I think, though, a lot of audience members do really like tack toward almost everything Taylor thinks in terms of like don't like Rachel and start to understand her at the same timing. One of the reasons I say this too is because there are some characters who I feel like the story turns around on before Taylor does, and I often hear people still not liking them until well after those points. But anyway, we'll get into those as we go. Um, we've got Alec. He's pretty casual in these high pressure settings. He he's into this stuff. He's upset at how many wards are there, but I don't think he's too defeated. He's in the next section, perfectly ready to go fight all of them, like it's no big thing. M says, I like her character, like the type to come off harsh, but they just don't understand how to be open. Yeah, yeah. Um, one of my favorite chapters in the book is the chapter from her perspective. And, like, the stuff that's happening in the present is, like, okay, but then it's like she's, um, going through different like flashbacks to her childhood, and she's riding a dog, and she just like howls into the night because she just has no way to articulate her emotions. And it's very emotional for the audience too. Um, but let's see here. I guess I don't have like a lot to say about Alec. If Vic wants to add anything, to just drop some Alec uh science up in this biz, and that's what's gonna happen. But otherwise, for the wards, there's a bunch of them. We don't really know them yet. The only one that we know any like personal detail about is that Gallant is supposedly dating Glory Girl, but like other than that, we don't know any of them. So they're just their powers at this point. I guess we know about Clockblocker, that he's like a crazy motherfucker who named himself Clockblocker. Um, I love Alec, but nothing to say at the moment. Yeah. Um, I think if somehow you didn't know these characters, but you understood the setting really well, you could, to a certain degree, figure out like what kind of people the wards are, or at least were, to get their powers. Um, so there's something to be said in that, but you'd have to like already like get the setting so much. I don't think there's a way to do that without already knowing these characters. Um, the civilians, they're sad. They're very sad. 2 plus 4 times 5 says, I even listened to We've Got Worm podcast after reading each arc, and I still didn't pick up on Rachel's subtle characterization until, a certain chapter. Yeah. I think I was very go with the flow on a lot of things with Taylor when I first read the story. And the thing is, I don't have as big of a difference with the choices she makes as I think some people would. It's just like sometimes she just sees there as only being one option, and she just can't think her way out of a situation, basically. I know. Oh, Taylor, we love you. So for the powers, knowledge, and world building section, we get some Taylor stuff. The whole back of the van has the bug pile. Taylor loves going with the flow. Taylor loves going with the flow when it allows her to just do crazy bad stuff, and then loves being hyper in control moment to moment. Vale says, same, I was on board with Taylor 100% first time through it. Made the second read a completely different story. Megafire says, Taylor's thing is that the decisions she makes in stressful moments almost always make sense, but the choices she makes that make her end up there often don't. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah. So we get giant massive bugs swarm that she can monitor a whole bank with. I feel like they don't talk as much about how much of the room the swarm would take up when it's not mostly compressed, but it would probably be a large area. It's just so many bugs. We already kind of knew about the stuff she could do, putting Black Widows on hostages. That sort of made sense with just knowing what her power did. Tattletale's power. She is like crazy useful in getting into the bank, getting all the passwords, getting the alarm code that wouldn't set off the alarm on the fire door, and then like getting them into the vault, everything. But it wasn't so great at telling her how many heroes would show up. And I'm pretty sure that's because of Taylor talking to Arms Master. But, these things happen. Tattletale's great. Her power is super powerful. Gru, he's good at infiltration, and I think that like his power is especially good for this kind of thing. Because like a character like Kid Win, for instance, has a visor that can see through walls, but it can't see through Gru's darkness. So they're actually hidden in a way that blocks more capes than just like normal physical obstacles. Vic says, I never understood how she can guess random passwords, but I've just accepted it. I think it's like basically her brain can make a dictionary attack setting off the um without setting off the security features on a password. So they don't have to make an actual attempt and can just divine the password that way. Um Vale says, if Lisa wanted to rob a bank, she kind of demonstrated her by her infiltration into the bank that she could have just done it on her own. Like if she wanted to rob the bank and was also something she easily could have. Um, yeah, I mean, I think that if she was like really stealthy, she may have been able to do something like that during non-peak hours. But that's more like heist style. I think Lisa could heist the bank, alone really well. But um, but this kind of robbery was a whole thing. Vic, Jesus. Yeah, so at work there's a whole thing about like misclassifying between burglaries and robberies when they happen. Um and people have fucked that up in the past. So, uh anyway, that's kind of ugh. Um so with Oh yeah, but what I was saying is that Gru aside from all that garbage about not being able to see through his darkness, he also dampens their sound as they move into rooms and as they grab people. So like normally someone could yell for help, but if someone was doing that and they didn't have Regent to make them cough and sputter, they could still just put darkness around that person's like whole person, and then they couldn't shout for help. So, whole thing. Um, let's see here. Vale says, I agree completely. Thus, if she wanted the money, her selling point to the team, she could have just gotten it. And then M says, what is the difference? Um, as Vic is pointing out, robbery has a confrontation, burglary has no confrontation, and a heist is sexy. Very true, and that's why when Lisa does it, even though she's our canon ace representation, it would still be sexy. Um, 2 + 4 × 5 says Ocean's 11 is a heist. Um, but yeah. So Vale, Lisa could have gotten the money, but the amount that she could have personally gotten was probably like one bag. So like, let's just say that's $10,000. She gets $10,000, and like that's a good haul, but it would be like a little dangerous. I guess she'd have the rest of them waiting to like break her out of a bad situation, but it'd be like it'd still be like just as big of a deal to try and get that 10,000, I think. And this is like triplicate money on 40,000 kind of thing. Um, so it's just like such a financial difference in terms of like that for the perspective of Gru and Regent. Bitch doesn't really understand the differences in numbers. So like it's just people are telling her she's going to get rich, um but yeah, so it works as a better incentive structure for Gru and Regent to have a higher payout. But also, the main selling point of the job is the distractione, I believe. Um, so let's see here. Um, Oh, not talking about the setting slash robbery based, just talking about her ability to get through security and controls. She could just go get millions. Yeah, in if she was stealing like high profile documents, but I think even just stealing like dollars, like huge piles of dollars, she couldn't carry that much off, and she um like would I think she would eventually get caught if she was just doing that kind of thing. Like they do different jobs all the time, and so they kind of get away with. I guess just one bank robbery act she could kind of pull off. But I'm just thinking like she probably wouldn't be impressed with how much the take was. Huh. I think if you start pulling big tinker or thinker heists, you get attention. Yeah, yeah. Like the kind of counter thinker attention that isn't easy to deal with. That's another thing. Like the whole setting is kind of a balance of terror style setting where you just don't want to make too big of waves because there's not always a bigger fish, but maybe they bring in four fish. And you know, then you're battling uphill the whole time at that point. Um So Regent, oh, 2 plus 4 times 5 says also it's much harder for banks to get back physical dollars than it is for them to just avoid a digital transaction. Yeah, yeah. So like stealing really high profile documents that are only physical paper might be good. Stealing any physical objects that are like a high value gemstone or a piece of technology or a blueprint, stuff like that might be good, but it'd be hard to make it worth doing that and not this other type of crazy crime she does, which is the much more smash and grab with her team. Let's see here. Regent, he's easily able to win a fight with a regular person, no contest, with a casual use of his power. We see applications that haven't even been mentioned yet. He's able to make people involuntarily cough and choke. We'll see later he can like get somebody to the point of vomiting. I don't think he does that at this point, like in this fight or anything. But there's a lot of options with his power because it's an unblockable ranged attack that can even do like weird annoying shit. Like I don't think we ever see this in the story, but I think if someone was yelling to an ally, he could make them like bite their own tongue. And like so he can even control information flow on the battlefield. Um let's see. Kidwin. Uh yeah, I guess there's let's see here. I guess all I had here was that he floats around while the others are standing on the ground. Kidwin, he be floating. Um, okay, Browbeat. So since he's brand new to us, we talk about his power just now. I just thought I'd take the section and just read it. I think it's an interesting power. He's a point blank telekinetic, that which means he can move things with his mind, but only if they're within an inch or so of his skin. He can use it to throw punches that hit like freight trains or shield himself from incoming attacks. He's also packing personal biokinesis, which means he's got a kind of ability to manipulate his own body. He can heal just by concentrating on an injury, and he used it to bulk up. He might be capable of doing something more on the fly, depending on how much he's trained since we saw him last. He's been a solo hero in Brockton Bay for a while now. So I guess I don't have a lot to say on the power, but like that power sounds awesome to me. I would love to have that power. It'd be pretty sick. Any power that comes with healing, I would be very interested in. And then like the I also like the kind of strength you get from like this kind of like the point blank telekinesis or like Victoria's force field. Um, stuff like that. I mean, I'm like a dummy, so like if you did give me like a power that put me in the thick of things, then that would be pretty great. Yeah, well, not any power with healing. See, this is why the whole setting is a monkey paw, Greg, because Scapegoat is literally the character whose first name is my first name. So, I don't want that power, and yet that's what William has. Um, but let's see here. I don't think we're ready to a monkey pog. I wish it was a monkey pog. Vic says I love Scapegoat's power. Oh man, Scapegoat. Vale says I'd want a stranger power, 100% thinker along with it if possible. Yeah. Well, I mean, at some point, so I was just about to mention this. Anyway, but at some point we are going to Vic and I have, and she may cringe into oblivion that I'm revealing this. Vic and I have OCs that we have with powers that we've been sort of developing. And if other people wanted to write out characters, that would be pretty cool. I don't know. We're definitely gonna. Oh, well, they're not Weaver dice. I won't cringe. I have no shame. Awesome. They're. We're just using knowledge of the setting, and like the reason we don't want to do Weaver dice is because like we don't want to like the random character generation is a really good, interesting facet of that game, but we wanted to make a power and a character that was much more of a reflection of ourself than what we would get from uh like the character generation where other people are like determining the power based on the trigger event, because a lot of the stuff like ties really specifically into not not getting what you want is Weaver dice. Well, sure. These powers also aren't necessarily like what we would want per se. Like I would want a better power than I've given myself, but yes, we would love to hear other people's OCs. And like I really think it's good to incorporate like lots of little aspects of your personality into a power. So like the power that my OC has like incorporates that, and into a lot of like the little facets of the power, because you know that's what makes each power unique is the weird intricacies of the way that person thinks. Um, oh man, initially I avoided reading the Weaver Dice rules because I didn't want to spoil myself on anything, but now that I've finished Worm in October, I should be good. Like there aren't any ward spoilers in it, right? Yeah, I think that you can read the Weaver Dice stuff without spoilers as well. I'm not sure because I haven't read it myself, but maybe I'll take a look at that and I'll let people know. Let me make a note for myself to do that. So look into Weaver Dice rules. But what was I saying? Yeah, so I don't know. I think that'd be great if other people had theirs, and I don't know when we're gonna debut them, but on the Discord, the Discord image is Vic's character, and then Vic's personal Discord image is that same character like later with a different haircut. Um, and it's pretty cool. Lots of powers, details, but I don't think there are ward spoilers in the rules. No. M says Leaf Lady. That's M. You could be Leaf Lady if it makes sense for you to be Leaf Lady. Then feel free. it's alliterative, if nothing else. My character, as a bit of a tease, my character's name is Bestow. Um, Guy says that she'll be Leap Lady. Um, Vic, she thinks my mask looks like a leaf. Oh, okay. I get it. I didn't realize that she thought your character image had a leaf face. Um, anyway, so the audience participation question time. The one from last week is, if you were the Undersiders, how would you rob the bank differently? And then moving into the audience participation here, I have an answer from Vale that I'll read real quick, which is, this is Lisa's job. She proposes it, negotiates with the team to get it done, manipulates the conversation masterfully to get them to agree to it. She's involved in the planning and has to set it up to be performed exactly how she wants it done. From my perspective, thinking as Lisa, it was perfect. This is Taylor's second foray as a superhero. Her first saw her mistaken as a supervillain. Her second sees her acting as a supervillain. She performs perfectly in the role. In all likelihood, the team would have not even tried without her, and would not have succeeded if she was not there taking the lead when things went badly. She was amazing in this performance. It was perfect. Brian, Regent, and Rachel play a secondary role, each using their power to harry the heroes responding to the call, and each are critical in their escape. They were perfect. I wouldn't change a thing. Sorry, this is such a lame answer, but thinking it through, that's where I landed. Yep. And then what do we got here? My answer's so lame. Sorry. No, it's fine, Val. Vic says Val thinks they're better than us because they have a wife and knows what 4A means. Oh man, you have no idea, Vale, but you allowed me to have a great moment. Vic did not know 4A before the Wordle day it happened, and it was very funny. Anyway, so moving on from that, I kind of agree with you in the like post hoc. We know that everything goes well enough, but you know, things come close to going very badly. Vic says, I don't believe anyone has ever used it before now. Oh man. And it was used in this video review I was watching the other day, and I was just like, I need to stop myself from sending this to Vic. Says, I feel like the bugs could have been used more cleverly. Vale says, I 4A daily. Well, as to that, they probably could have used them more cleverly because she gets better techniques down the line. I don't think it's too big of a spoiler to say one of the things she can do later is she draws like spider silk drag lines across like walkways so that she can make sure no one is crossing through, etc. And if they get broken, she instantly knows someone's moving in that area. Like bugs over cameras, bugs in the wires. Oh, believe me, these things, you are right. She is not maximizing her potential yet. But she is a powers munchkin if ever there was one. She is ready to, like, use her power to do the most ridiculous stuff. It's awesome. You're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. Pictures of cheese. She can draw with the bugs. Anyway, I'm gonna move on to Greg's answer. Diversions. Nothing quite like a diversion for splitting incoming forces. It can be as simple as explosives or fireworks in empty buildings, something loud, best if it sounds like some major shit is going down without actually destroying much property. Even better if you put some before you start the robbery. Then a bunch more time to go off when you're busy grabbing money and papers. Even betterer if you can manage to put the explosives someplace that will also draw the attention of one or more gangs. So the PRT Protectorate wards show up and have to deal with the ABB or the merchants or whoever. That, and it would have been good for Taylor to keep more of a perimeter with her power. She didn't notice the wards were across the street until Tattletale mentioned it, when she could have noticed a couple blocks out if she was paying attention. That distance could have given them more room to maneuver before being pinned into a fight. Yeah, I agree. It's a little harder outside because it's raining, so a lot of her bugs can't really handle like just normal action in the rain. Like some of the cockroaches and stuff are big enough to move around out there, but a lot of them just get kind of washed about and like I think ants take a lot, like they can get stuck in a puddle and like as long as they get slid over to the side soon enough, they'll be fine. But like they can't actually do anything. Maybe she could compel them to like squiggle their legs in a way that's more effective at swimming, but I don't know. I don't know. A lot of bugs don't work in the rain. Her greatest strength, though, is her internal monologue, jokes, comedy gold from Taylor. Yeah. Oh my god. Some of her quips later, like when she's fighting Rune and she's like, "Take that, Sabrina the teenage Nazi." Taylor's big weakness, rain. You'll find that Taylor has a lot of big weaknesses. Rain, fire, any enclosed suit, like so many things. But she finds ways to battle them. Doesn't she live next to the shore? Yeah, but when she's out at the shore, she'll use crab battle. It'll be fine. Um, and krill battle. No one's gonna beat you once you're fighting with krill battle. Um, she should relocate to the desert. Yeah. Well, okay. So I guess take note of how she does in a fight when there's water everywhere, given that there will be a major battle later where there's water everywhere. 2 + 4 × 5 says she should go to Australia. I mean, that's a good plan generally for someone with her power. And on the Discord, 2 + 4 × 5 says, I'd keep someone watching the front doors at all times while the others were emptying the vault. Probably Gru because he can see through his darkness. I'd also have Tattletale doing more things with her power, but she kind of already does that, so I don't know. Yeah, that's something that we haven't been like touching on per se, but I guess for the new audiences. But I'll mention that because we're a mid spoilies podcast. Tattletale is like doing other stuff on the side to get her own like goals met and to like steal other docks and so forth that she knows are like actually valuable because of her power. Um, then 2 + 4 × 5 goes on to say, I think the Undersiders handled it pretty well, except for the part where Bug talked to Armsmaster beforehand and probably, in parens, tipped off the wards, thus putting the entire heist crossed out robbery at risk. That's funny. There's even like textual like jokes in your answer. That's good. M says, "Oh God, yeah." At the Australia, Taylor is an apocalypse. She fills a van with bugs in Australia, just like in Brockton Bay, but only needs a few hundred bugs to fill the van. Vic says, like always, Taylor. Um, um, let's see here. Yeah, she kind of end ruined everything, but it's also not 100% clear whether or not her talking to Armsmaster was the... Like, maybe it's confirmed in the interlude that I didn't remember to read ahead. I should have read the interlude and not just the next two chapters. That's what I should have done. Have you seen that video of an Australian spider carrying a dead mouse up the side of a fridge? I haven't, but wow, that that'll, I mean, that'd freak me out. Let's see here. Okay, so I think we're pretty much done with the audience participation unless other people have answers. I mean, these were all great answers like usual. Um, but unless anybody has any last minute answers, I'm just gonna read the question I have, and if somebody thinks of a way better question, then we can use that. But my question is, because this will be after you've read 3.9 and 3.10, what's your favorite moment in the fight so far? Really basic question, but I think it's a pretty dynamic fight with like a lot of different crazy stuff going on. So, possibly thing. Put foray in the question so it's classy. Oh boy. All right. So, I'm gonna start playing that music. Oh, and just so that you know, I may use different tracks, different weeks, but I started looking at this person's music after I found this track, and like there's a lot of stuff that's similar to this, but not this exact one. And I think a lot of these are gonna fit the moods. So I'm probably gonna use a lot of their music. I'm gonna keep putting links to the specific tracks and the name of the artist in the descriptions of the specific streams that the actual track is in. And maybe I can put those in the links. Yeah, I'll put those on the links page as well. Well, but I don't want to bog it down. If I'm using a different track every week, it would cover up. I'll have a pinned post with the important links, and then I'll put all the music links on non-pinned posts. That's what I'll do. But this track is crazy. It's called "Do the Lies You Told Seem Shameful," and it's just like, wow, what a Taylor song title. But as we start this ominous music, so important links to note: the author of the work being discussed here can be supported on Patreon at patreon.com/wildbow. The full text of the work is available for free online at parahumans.wordpress.com. There's also a fan-made audiobook of the entire work at audioworm.rain-online.org. And I gotta plug my own podcast app if I'm doing that, and say if you ever listen to chapter 2.x, please listen to my cool 2.x reading on my channel. In the chat, 2 + 4 × 5 said, also, I don't think it's ever directly implied in story that Armsmaster tipped off the wards, but it explained why Tattletale didn't expect to have 7 capes show up. I think it's a cool headcanon. Yeah. I like that it works either way, too. So yeah, that's kind of it. We're gonna outro on this edgy song. Thanks for the compliment, Em. I thought it went pretty well as well. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you for being here. It was really great to have Sky back, to have Vale, coming in 2 + 4 × 5, and to see Megafire for the first time. I know not a lot of the people, we got 50-50 split between people who are already in the community, but it's a notable name. Anyway, bye!